It's October, so you know what that means. We have Married to a Witch, released in 2001, directed by Freda Mata and written by the GOAT, Helen Ukpabio, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a fan of Nollywood horror, then this is your GOAT. It's basically about this ex-Christian who loses his faith and he is then attacked and exploited by a coven of witches, and he actually marries one of these witches. Now, if I met a witch who looked as beautiful as Lillian Back, then maybe I too would be trapped and befuddled and gone with the wind. This is one of my favorite horror movies because there's a scene where the witches are sucking blood with a syringe. Next on the list we have Witches, released in 1998, also directed by Freda Mata, which makes me wonder what exactly he was going through. It's based in this city where the women have this thirst for knowledge and power, and it leads them to manipulate spiritual forces for evil. My favorite scene is where this little girl is being bullied by this boy, and her mom is basically like, use your powers, get him. And then they turn him into a hen, like chicken. Next we have The Devil in Her, starring Mona Lisa Chinda as the devil, honey. This little girl is initiated into a mermaid coven from a young age, so she has powers and she's a witch. And she basically uses her powers to punish any man who falls for her seduction tactics. Very fair if you ask me. My favorite scene is when Freda Mata's character is like, oh my god, I had a dream that you were like a mermaid, and she's like, are you a child? Go to sleep. It's so funny. Also, hey Freda Mata, again. Next up we have Samadora, released in 1998. Similar to The Devil in Her, mermaid witch coven, except the witch fell in love with a human and is like, now we're gonna go live underwater. But the human has a human wife whom he cheated on, which is how he got into the mess in the first place. My favorite scene is when she appears in the room and then they start to, do it. Who does it with someone that just appears in their room? Like, I even forgot it happened with his babe laying next to him. That is insane. Helen Ukpabio does it again with Highway to the Grave. Here we have Regina Askia starring as the bad girl from the underworld, here to punish men who misbehave. The cover is just so scandalous to me. Like, look at that. Next up, we have Karishika, released in 1996. The movies of movies. She's described as a shape-shifting, blood-sucking, light-skinned demon from hell. And the song goes, Karishika, Karishika, queen of demons. It's very haunting. And my favorite scene is the one where she's seducing the pastor. I know, Christians, please. It's okay. It's art. It's a movie. In the name of Satan, sorry. In the name of Jesus Christ. What a big fool. Evil Passion was released in 1993 and it stars one of my favorite people ever, Ngozi Nwosu. And I like this one because it's less like, oh, I'm a witch and I have supernatural powers. I'm more like, oh, I'm gonna give this man a charm so he can do whatever I say, like outsourcing the evil, Also, it's in Igbo, which is very cool. Last and definitely not least, we have Koto Aye, released in 2001. I don't know how accurate the 2001 is, but that's what the internet said. When I watched it, it was given like 1991. This movie is completely in Yoruba and is a very different dynamic to how they treat the witches traditionally. Like, the witches have a place in the village. People know who they are, and people believe that they play a part in the society. Basically, if you disrespect a witch in this town, you're going to go through it. And it centers around this woman who insults this man that wants to marry her. And then the mom puts a curse on her. They finally lift the curse. Then during the naming ceremony, she doesn't feel... Anyways, I love this scene where they're like, witches are the whips used by God to flog those who don't do his will. All we have to do is keep praying. I thought that was cool. Because, in the Nigerian community, they are very, 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 very persecuted. You can't even be a witch. Like, what is that? Also, there is this ridiculous scene. She altered his brain and changed his gender. Ooh, I almost forgot Score to Settle. There is a scene where she cuts off his... This marks the end of the Femme Fatales. Watch out for part 2, the ritual killings. Let's get into part 2 of our horror series, The Ritualists.
How can I get 7 human heads? You have killed before, Michael. You've killed. You shouldn't be afraid of killing anymore.
First off, we have Billionaires Club, released in 2003. This 2-part movie is about a secret society of men who use occult powers to make blood money and to manipulate people into doing their evil will. Or like I like to describe it, a cautionary tale to women everywhere to leave poor men alone, because in his bid to take care of you and help his insecurity, he will use you and your newborn baby to make money in a cult. Directed by Afam Okereke, this movie stars Chidi Ihezie, whom I love, Tony Umes, Peter Doche, and Clem Ohameze, the trinity of occult movies in Nollywood. And the scene that just really took me is when they're pounding this newborn baby in a mortar with a pistol. It's never that deep, please get a job. Next up, we have Dogs Missing, released in 2004. As is the theme of all the movies on this list, it's a group of people, who want to be rich and don't want to work for it, basically. So they're like, I'm going to sell my soul to the devil. Except in this film, when I tell you that the evil starts from the first scene. When I tell you Pete Edochie's character was so evil in this movie, my God. Next, we have Blood Money 1 and 2, released in 1997. The story of a man who loses his 9 to 5 and is just like, I need to make money and I need to make it now. So he joins a cult, and the only way that he can make money is by taking the life of another. The cult of the Vulture Men. And this movie is just so ridiculous because he doesn't even get to enjoy the money before the ghost of his mother that he killed starts to haunt him.
Like that? Get away from me! Get away from me! Go ahead.
Oh, and this movie stars Zach Orji and Kanayo Kanayo, another pillar of Nollywood occult movies. Next up, we have Living in Bondage, the first Nigerian home video movie to achieve blockbuster success. This movie is credited as the creator of the occult economy theme and genre in Nollywood movies. Basically, after Living in Bondage was released, the melodrama of the money ritual genre became a thing. And this movie is so cool to me because it's the first of its kind. It's released in 1992, and the first version was all in Igbo. Can you imagine? Nigerians owe Igbo people so much. Directed by Chris Obi Rapo, this movie stars Kenneth Okonkwo, Francis Agu, and Kanaya Okanayo. And I don't really have a favorite part of this movie, but this scene is very funny to me because indeed, there was nothing that he couldn't do to not touch money, cha. Including his first wife. Rest in peace, Queen. Next up, we have Desperate Women, released in 2006. Directed by Ernest Obi, it stars our faves Patience Ozokwa and Clarion Chukura. This movie made it to the list because it was nice to see the girlies get into some of the action. AKA, husband was finally sacrificed. When I tell you there's nothing that didn't happen to this woman. She had to live with a madman. She had to travel to the underworld. Snakes now live in her womb. She had to kill her husband. She can never have children because the snakes. And any man who she makes love to will die. It's never that serious, girl. See, the thing with making a deal with the devil is it's never a good deal. Anyways, my favorite scene is at the end of the movie. Just watch. Watching that gave me cramps. Now, I didn't know exactly where to put these, but they're iconic and they need to be spoken about. Now, where do I begin with End of the Wicked? Everything in this poster happened. Released in 1999, we have another Helen Ukbabio production. It's about a coven of witches and their shape-shifting leader, Beelzebub, and how they terrorize a family of Christians. And what's so particular about this movie is that they're children in this covens. This film was so controversial in the 1990s and the 2000s that it led to the rise of parents accusing their children of witchcraft, even going as far as abandoning these children and even murdering them. There's a documentary about it called Dispatches Saving Africa's Witch Children. Like, it's so bad that Helen Opabio is currently banned from going to Britain. But one thing I want to point out is that their, demonic leader is actually in whiteface, which is a nice change because the devil is always black, child. Don't come for me, Caucasians. This movie is so outlandish. Can you tell I'm stressed? Anyways, the most shocking scene to me is when this mother-in-law asks for a phallus so she can rape her son's wife.
3 times.
Next, we have Witch Doctor of the Living Dead. Released in 1985, this is Nigeria's first ever horror movie. Ironically, the director is from Cameroon, Charles Abi Enonchong, who is also the writer of this film. Here we have the story of a witch doctor that is basically haunting the village. He's very upset that there's the presence of Christianity and that's taking the villagers away from traditional worship. He has the ability to change into a goat and summon zombies and snakes. And I just think it's so cool that a movie was created even before Nollywood was created, And my favorite scene is when the pastor is basically using a crucifix to fight off a zombie. And thus marks the end of our horror series. For more details, please visit Yungnollywood.com. And for the full series, please check us out on YouTube at Yungnollywood.